My name is Donald, and I'm currently with Isaiah House Next Step program. I'm 58 years old. Um, I, I've been through some ups and downs in life, and I'm glad I found my way to this program.
Can you share with us about some of those ups and downs?
Okay, well, I used to work for the New York State Department of Insurance and the World Trade Center and on Fulton Street, New York, and I was there the day of the 9/11, the day of the World Trade Center attacks, and I got out of the building maybe 5 to 10 minutes before it came down. And as a result of the results of that day, the events of that day, I wound up in the hospital for about 3 months for mental health issues because I didn't know what to do with that information that day. It was all new to me, and it was pretty scary. Didn't think I was gonna make it out of there.
So what did you do after you left the hospital?
Actually, in order to get out of the hospital, I had to convince them that I was willing. I grabbed the newspaper every day and I looked for a job and I called and I set up interviews, and that was the way I got out of the hospital, because I started setting up interviews for myself and doing things on my own. They saw that I was ready to leave. So when I got out of the hospital, I just got a room and started working as a security guard. I figured I'd start wherever. I worked as a claims examiner for New York State before that. So it was a big change. But I had a hard time dealing with life at that time, life on its terms, because I didn't talk about what was going on with me with anybody. After I got out of the hospital, I didn't continue with therapy. I didn't take medication. I didn't think I had a problem. I didn't think I had a problem with what was going on.
So what ultimately led you to Isaiah House?
Well, one of the issues, well, this is years later that I came to Isaiah House, of course, because that was in 2001. But I eventually started getting sick from the dust and all the stuff that was in that environment that day. Because I also continued to work there after we went back. We went to back to work maybe 2 to 3 weeks after the event, and so I was in that environment for a couple of months, and I developed some breathing issues. And I was diagnosed with COPD, esophageal reflux, and, bronchitis, chronic bronchitis, emphysema, all these things. So I had a hard time dealing with just everyday life, and that change in the quality of life made me very depressed. I couldn't do a lot of things I used to do. I couldn't work on a daily basis. I couldn't go out the house on days that were too humid, on days that were too cold. And so I started to isolate, and one thing led to another, and it led to severe depression. I made several suicide attempts. So on one of those suicide attempts, I was in the hospital and a man came to visit me. His name is Mr. Bennett. And I guess someone had called about me and asked if there any way they could help me, which I appreciate. And I found out that this program would give me a place to start working on my acceptance of where I was and my illness. And at the same time, because before I went into the hospital, I was living in an apartment and my whole income was going toward rent. So that was another thing that was making me depressed. So this program gave me a chance to save money, to have a place that was supportive, because of the place I'm in therapy. I go to therapy every other week. I see a psychiatrist on a regular basis. And these are things that the program requires, because without it, it's probably something I wouldn't do, because I have a hard time accepting that I do have these mental health issues, even though I know I do. But
so the Next Step program led you to recognize that you needed this.
That I needed help, and that it's okay to ask for help, because
Had you been in any other programs or shelters prior to?
No, I hadn't been to a shelter before. The first time I've been homeless. I've been in other programs, but I've always left thinking that I don't need them. Like I said, I don't want to accept. I have a hard time accepting things, and accepting that I have a mental illness was rough for me. One of the benefits of being here at Isaiah House is they're preparing me for when I move out on my own. And I plan to move into supportive housing, not supportive housing, subsidized housing, which we are in the process of applying for all over the area. The funds that we're paying for rent now, the 30% that we're paying for rent now, come back to us when we leave. So it can be used to buy furniture or whatever else we need, put a down payment on the place if necessary, which I think is a brilliant idea, very unexpected, but very helpful.
You talked about Mr. Bennett earlier. What has been your experience with Isaiah House staff that you've encountered?
Oh, I think it's been great. I can basically speak about Mr. Bennett and Miss Catherine, and they are a nice 1-2 punch. Mr. Bennett, he's rough when he has to be, and he gets his point across, and I really appreciate that. And Catherine don't take no mess, period. And like I said, I appreciate that because I tend to think I know everything. And to be honest with you, I do have that issue. And they bring me back down to earth.
So what goals have you set for yourself while you're in this program?
One, to continue to get treatment for my issue. I know it's something that's chronic and it'll never get better, but it's also something that I now realize I can live with, because I was getting depressed because I would make plans and then that day, because of my breathing or my coughing or whatever, I would have to change, and I was really getting down because I never knew what the next day was going to be like. But because I'm seeing these specialists now and they're helping me with different ways of dealing with it, I'm starting to be able to manage it better, and they've helped me with that. Another thing is preparing me to go back out on my own. I've also been in touch with the World Trade Center Health Organization, and it turns out that because I worked in that environment and because I have these breathing issues, that I may qualify for some type of compensation and medical help. I'm really excited about the medical help because I have to worry about co-pays. Their doctors will be treating me. And I actually have an interview for that program this coming Thursday. So I'm excited about that.
What do you appreciate the most about Isaiah House?
The fact that they're allowing us to grow. I feel like they're allowing me to grow at my own pace. There's no rush, there's no constant push. They allow me to grow at my own pace, and because of that, I think I'm doing much better. I know I'm doing much better.
If you could sum up Isaiah House in one word or one thought, how would you describe it?
If I could sum up Isaiah House in one word, it's a godsend. It is truly a godsend. It's like something that came out of nowhere. I didn't even know I needed until I had it. I know I needed a place to stay, but it's so much more than a place to stay. There's support for everything I need, for mental health issues, for my medical issues, for my just companionship issues, because I have, like I said, I have a tendency to isolate. They make sure they come see us every day, make sure we're all right. And you need that. I need that, So it's definitely a godsend.